Hey everybody, we are back, and this is sort of a all over the place stream because I'm not going to go for a long time. I keep saying that, and then I do, but there is a lot to talk about. Um, First of all, I want to point out something that some people didn't quite understand why. A little interesting to me. If you take a look at this is the make sure this is lined up correctly, but this is Allegiant Stadium. And Allegiant Stadium, as you can see here, uh, had earlier today the M removed. I pointed that out. And I wasn't going to watch it all day long and wait for grass to grow, right? So what they did, I noticed this last night is what happened, but what they did there, okay? Let's go back a little bit more in time. Here, 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 there. About 12 noon. See, the M was taken down because prior to this, I pointed out the M was really off center. And let me go back and get that so you're not, I don't want to make you dizzy or anything, okay? But you can see just how, not off center, but offset it was compared to all of the other letters in Allegiant Stadium. Now, some of you say why is this a big deal? Look, the airline spent 400 million. You don't just, and no brand manager will want a situation. You don't create a situation where the name of your brand is presented in a way that's less than what they expect, that looks sloppy, shoddy, lazy. It would be the height of laziness to put it up with an offset M and then not fix it. And I pointed that out. I wasn't the first to do it, however. It was on Twitter. I simply amplified the single tweet. And apparently it was effective because they went back, they took down the M. Because the problem was with the M, it has a kind of for want of a better term, sort of a flange attachment on the back where it can be hooked on and then welded onto the curtain wall of the stadium. And they're not, the way it was designed, it wasn't on the same line as the other letters. So what happened was, well, it looked kind of like this. Hold on a second. Let me get I'll get my old Oakland News Now so you can see the photograph right off the bat. It looked bad. It really did. Unbelievably, though, some of you didn't understand why it was important. And I'm thinking, seriously? So a person should just be happy for half a loaf if they're paid for a whole loaf. That's like you going to the store. You pay $5 for a top-end bread, right? Or just bread. And you pay for a whole loaf of bread. And yet you get half a loaf, okay? Half a loaf. Or quarter of a loaf. Or 3/4. In either case, you didn't get what you paid for. If half a loaf. Or quarter of a loaf. Or 3/4. In either case, you didn't get what you paid for. If you have kids to feed, you have just simply the value of what you get. You have your own reputation. You're not going to just take what people give you. And yet some of you are asking for Allegiant to do that. No. Because this is what it was. This is the problem right here, okay? Here. This was the problem. And the M, as you can see, is higher. See, these are online. And then this is up, okay? And that was the problem. This whole M is higher. It just had to be brought down a bit. So they took the M off earlier. I made a video about that, and then they put it back. Here's what they did. Okay, let's go back here. Go forward. See that there's where they put it back, and they left it alone. Prior to that, it had been down for the day. I believe it was like they'd taken it down early in the morning. You can notice the offset there. Okay, so it's early this morning when I pointed out that they were taking it down. Early this morning, they came along about, let's see, they took it down at about 7:40. They removed it, and they took it off. I don't know if you can see it. It's actually on a kind of a tractor trailer here, and they took it off and they went to repair it, and then they brought it back. It took a while. It took a good 3 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, and they brought it back. So they fixed it, and they brought it back so that, as you can tell, after all is said and done, it still looks, actually, it still looks like it's a little high to me. It looks like it's a little high to me, maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit high. But maybe it was something that they couldn't fix. But I'll tell you, it's actually, now that I look at it, no, it's about right. Yeah, it's about right. Because let me put it this way, it looks more even than it was before. Before this, it was really obviously offset. Okay. It's not a problem you want. So the point is, if you're going to spend upwards of, if you're going to spend money to have your logo out there, you want your logo presented as it would look on any type of material you have. Business cards, letterheads, website. It doesn't matter where, it has to all look the same. And Allegiant, when they agreed to spend $400 million, actually $20 million over a period of about 40. Well, it's not 40 years and 20 million, but it's roughly, actually it's a little bit less than that. But if you're going to spend that kind of money over a multi-year period, you expect, period, you expect your name to be presented just as it would be presented in any other type of marketing you have. That's just gospel. And period, end of story. So the other reason I paid attention to the matter was, look at how many problems this thing has had and how they haven't addressed them. Okay, so you've got you had the materials not showing up on time. And they said that wasn't a problem when it turned out that it was. They tried to blame me for spreading the rumor, and I didn't. Their own construction monitor said, hey, look, materials are being delivered late. And the they that tried to blame the problem on me as a rumor was Tommy White, who I have a lot of respect for. I was really disappointed that Tommy would do that. I thought he was a better person than that. And I really did. But, hey. So, but if you're going to spend $20 million over 20 years, you expect, especially if you're a small airline, like the ninth largest carrier in the world. No, ninth largest carrier in the United States. Uh, if you're a small airline, you want to make every dollar count. You don't have enough money to waste. You're not like American Airlines, which can spend, I think, $90 million to name the field around SoFi Stadium, right? The grounds around it. Or SoFi itself, which I believe has naming rights to $600 million. This is different. This is a Las Vegas headquartered airline that looked to make a splash, and it did so. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Hey, Sean, how are you all? How's everybody doing? How are you all making it through this pandemic? So while you were answering those questions, I'm going to get from there to the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, which I have a copy of. First of all, I am going to make sure that you get a copy of the collective bargaining agreement. How? Because I happen to have a copy of it that I have downloaded into my Scribd area. And so I'm writing now NFL CBA right here. There it is. You can get that, and you can have a link where you can download your own personal copy of the NFL's collective bargaining agreement. So don't say I never gave you anything. There it is, folks. Up to date as of May 5th, the one that was voted on. There it is. Okay. Now, what do I think of the CBA? I am more interested in why it wasn't voted on. And I think looking around for comments about the collective bargaining agreement as I type NFL CBA, because there are a number of people who thought there might be a strike. The vote was really close. Okay. I mean, it was really close. I mean, the good thing about it is that it gives the players an increased share of revenue. It adds benefits, and the league goes to a 17-game regular season schedule along with the expanded playoff field. But to me, it's the league. The first is that this is an odd number season now. It used to be even numbers. We went from 14 games when I first started paying attention to the league to 16 games, and now we're going to a 17th game. And the idea was that with these odd number of games, you would be home and home, right? But I suppose these 17th games are neutral site games. I think that's the idea, where you can have a game in London or Belarus, or I'm joking, but you get the idea. There is a 17th game on a schedule for every team. And also the new CBA makes it, when I say illegal, I mean illegal within the terms of the collective bargaining agreement, for a player to be suspended from marijuana use. Hello, Josh Gordon. Come to the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders broke out with, "Hey, we signed Josh Gordon." He's went through a lot, really has, and I hope he gets another shot. I really do. And the other aspect of the CBA that I'm interested in is that how it deals with free agents. So I have an open copy right here that I've been reading, and veteran free agency. This is how it reads. Section 1, unrestricted free agents. Subject to the provisions of Section 5 below and Article 10, any player with 4 or more accrued seasons shall, at the expiration of his player contract, become an unrestricted free agent. So once your contract is done, you automatically become an unrestricted free agent. So that means that when the clock strikes, ding, Tom Brady becomes an unrestricted free agent. That means that this is the 15th, and Ryan Tannehill didn't even have to wait for the clock to strike anything. He got a sweetheart deal, $118 million. Okay. And arguably, Ryan Tannehill set the market for Jameis Winston in the Bucs. because Tannehill does not have anywhere near the numbers that Winston does. And yet he commanded a $118 million contract. So I'll get to that in a second. Signing period. Okay. It says, well, first it reads this: such player shall be completely free to negotiate and sign a player contract with any club, and any club shall be completely free to negotiate and sign a player contract with such player without penalty, restriction, including but not limited to draft choice compensation between clubs or first refusal rights of any kind, subject to the signing period set forth below. Signing period. In the event that an unrestricted free agent has not signed a player contract with a club by July 22nd of this year, for example, or this next year. Well, I mean, if you become an unrestricted free agent in 2021, then it would be July of 2021. But July 22nd or the first scheduled day of the first NFL training camp, whichever is later. In the league year, following the expiration of his last player contract, he may negotiate or sign a player contract from July 22nd until the Tuesday following the 10th week of the regular season at 4 o'clock New York time, only with his prior club, provided that the prior club by the Monday immediately following the final day of the NFL draft for that league year has tendered to the player a one-year player contract of at least 110% of either his prior salary or his paragraph 5 salary if his expiring player contract is a player contract he entered into as a rookie without negotiation. And that is actually without renegotiation. That's actually Jameis Winston's position. He came in, he's playing now with the same contract he came in with as a rookie. So he falls right into this category. And in each case, with all other teams of his contract identical to his prior year's contract, the UFA tender, the purpose of this subsection, prior year salary, means the total of the paragraph 5 salary, roster reporting bonuses, pro rata portion of signing bonus, and other payments to players in compensation for the playing of professional football for the last year of the player's most recently negotiated player contract, except for performance bonuses other than roster and reporting bonuses. Prior year salary shall also include any unrepaid loans made, guaranteed, or collateralized by a team or its team affiliate to a player or player affiliate. So players do this. They get loans from the team. They work out. Sometimes a signing bonus is thought of as a kind of a loan. There are all kinds of I call them substructures under the structure, okay? If an unrestricted free agent described in section 1BI above has not signed a player contract by the Tuesday following the 10th week of the regular season at 4 o'clock p.m. New York time, the player shall be prohibited from playing football in the NFL for the remainder of the league year. Let me repeat that. If an unrestricted free agent described in section 1B1, okay? So 1B1 is where you are in the event of an unrestricted free agent, if you have not signed a player contract with a club by July 22nd or the first scheduled day of the first NFL training camp, whichever is later in the league year following the expiration of his last player contract, he may negotiate or sign a player contract from July 22nd until the Tuesday following the 10th week of the regular season at 4 o'clock New York time, only with his prior club, provided the prior club by the Monday immediately following the final day of the NFL draft for that year, league year, has tendered to the player a one-year player contract of at least 110% of either his prior year's salary or if his expiring player contract is not a player contract entered into as a rookie. Okay, that's 1B, okay. And then, or his paragraph 5 salary, if he is an expiring player contract, he entered into as a rookie without renegotiation in each case with all other terms, of his contract identical to his prior contract, which is called the UFA tender. For the purpose of subsection prior year salary means the total of paragraph 5 salary, roster reporting bonus, what I said before. Now let's say the player doesn't do that. Okay, that's what the other That's what B2 deals with. So if you don't do that, let's say you're like, I'm not going to sign, if unrestricted free agent described in section 1BI above has not signed a player contract by the Tuesday, the 4 o'clock deadline, right? The player shall be prohibited from playing football in the NFL the remainder of the league year, absent a showing by the impartial arbitrator of extreme club or extreme personal hardship. In other words, if you don't sign it, you're out, unless you have some reason. So basically, it's like this: you are in a situation where you can go and seek a contract with any NFL team, or you can stick around with your current team and play through a version of your last sucky contract. And then if for maybe some reason you don't sign a new contract or you're not able to, you're out of the league, or you can go to an arbitrator. You have the luxury of going to an arbitrator is what this reads. Okay. So it gives you some options here. But the bottom line is you need a good agent, and you need to get yourself in a position where you've signed a contract, so you're not going through that rigmarole. It looked like Derek Carr was in that position for a bit. Like, hey, when are you going to sign with the Raiders? Remember that period about 3 years ago where it looked like he wasn't going to sign, and then he waited until the start of the next season. He was in a position similar to this, Derek Carr was, and then he got his contract. But he was really trying to see who was going to set the market. Now, this goes on to say the determination of the impartial arbitrator shall be made within 5 days of the application of and shall be based upon all information relating to such hardships submitted by such date. He called me a bad name. The determination of the impartial arbitrator shall be final and binding upon all parties, which means the team has to follow what the arbitrator says, as well as the player. Period. End of story. 3, if an unrestricted free agent does not play in the NFL for the remainder of a league year, and this is also Tom Brady's situation. Tom Brady can take his current contract, and the Patriots would have to match that by 110%. All right, he could sign that, or he could not sign it and go to arbitration after the bell would go ding at 4 o'clock the Monday after the 10th week of this coming up NFL season. So Brady could do that as well. He could say, I want the Pats to cough up some money. I want them to treat me right. I'm not going to do anything, and be out of football. There's a risk there, especially at his age. Okay, there's a risk. I don't think he's going to go in that direction, and I don't think restricted free agent does not play in the NFL for the remainder of a league year pursuant to section 1B2 above that I read to you, which involves the arbitrator, okay? Commencing the first day of the following league year, the player shall be free to negotiate and sign a player contract with any club. Any club shall be completely free to negotiate. And there's also Le'Veon Bell. So the Le'Veon Bell rule, okay? Completely free to negotiate and sign a player contract with such player without penalty or restriction, including but not limited to draft choice, compensation between clubs, or first refusal rights of any kind or any signing period. So Le'Veon Bell kind of did this. Actually, he did do it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to sit out. They're not going to sign me. And everybody's waiting for the clock to strike and like, ding, they'll sign him. The Steelers will sign him. The Steelers like, So he became a couch potato, chilled out for about a year, came back, signed with the Jets, and he was happy. The Jets didn't go anywhere, but whatever. He was happy. Moving along, an NFLPA certified contract advisor representing any player who will become an unrestricted free agent at the end of a league year upon expiration of the player's contract. I got to get Lee Steinberg on to talk about this. With his current club, shall be permitted to communicate directly with front office officials, excluding the head coach and all other members of the club and coaching staff, or any or all new NFL clubs regarding contract negotiations during the 48-hour period immediately prior to the start of the next league year. During this period, the player's certified contract advisor may negotiate all aspects of the NFL player contract, provided, however, that the player may not execute an NFL player contract until 4 o'clock p.m. New York time on the first day of the new league year when any player contract expires. Anyway, there's a lot more here. That deals with unrestricted free agents, and there's restricted free agents, the definition of which any veteran player with 3 accrued seasons but fewer than 4 accrued seasons shall, at the expiration of his last player contract during such period, become a restricted free agent. Any such player shall be completely free to negotiate and sign a player contract with any club, and any club shall be completely free to negotiate and sign a player contract with any such player, subject to the restrictions set forth in this article. So there's a number of clauses that go along with being just that. And there's further discussion regarding the offer sheet, first right of refusal procedures, and so on. There's a 453-page document, and so I'll go and see if you have any questions. And I don't see anybody who does, but there's 20 of you here. Welcome to Zenny62. How are you doing? What is burning on your mind about the NFL, or any questions? This is open forum now. Anything you want to throw out there, you have on your mind, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So, hey, what's happening? Or do you want me to keep talking about the CBA and excruciatingly legal detail, which, hey, I'm happy to do. And yes, I did just touch my face. Which Hazel? Anyway, I got something over here. But at any rate, if you don't have any questions, then I will. I don't plan to stay on long because of the hour. But hey, welcome to Zenny62 on YouTube. I am going to talk about the Ryan Tannehill deal now. I'm going to turn to that. Ryan Tannehill agrees to a 4-year deal with Titans worth up to $118 million, which means it's a contract with incentives. And the deal has an average value of $29.5 million, includes $62 million fully guaranteed. And this is broke by ESPN's Jeff Darlington. He used to be on the NFL Network. The Titans announced a multi-year extension for Tannehill on Sunday, but did not disclose the terms. The reported agreement came after sources told ESPN's Diana Rossini earlier Sunday that Tennessee was not interested in Tom Brady and was instead focusing on a deal with Tannehill. Tennessee was widely speculated as a Brady. Why? I don't know. But they say given his impressive run and Brady's friendship with Titans coach Mike Vrabel. I wasn't banking on that, okay? I wasn't banking on that. So I think one of you has a question. You said, the reality of Allegiant Stadium opening on time is not good. And it's not good because of the pandemic we're going through and the fact that it's one thing to have the stadium ready, but it's another to have the events. It was a little ditty that I was going to break out and mention as part of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority document. And it's a very quietly announced, but should be noted, change in what is being reported regarding the stadium and its opening. Okay. And it's a very tiny print that you have to read the project status report to get. And the project status report, there are different views, but you really need to read the construction monitor's report, and where it reads that the authority, Grand Canyon Development Partners. This is what it read. Grand Canyon Development Partners provide a series of updates during the period based on 1, attendance at regularly scheduled construction meetings, 2, reoccurring monthly meetings with a Stadco representative. That's Dan Ventrelli, the Raiders lawyer. 3, either Ventrelli or Don Webb. I believe it may barely be Don Webb, the Raiders chief operating officer. 3, routine site visits, and 4, a review of project materials and reports submitted by Stadco and the construction monitor. Grand Canyon Development Partners identified no changes to project submission matters requiring the authority's approval and generally concluded the stadium project will be completed on time and budget and will include all project elements and will meet the project standards set forth in Stadium Development Agreement in Senate Bill 1. Now, hold that thought. Okay, hold that thought. Because then comes this. Grand Canyon Development Partners indicated that also received an updated project schedule. That said, as of its most recent meeting with the contractor, January 28th, Grand Canyon Development Partners was notified that additional revisions were made to the project schedule based on, quote, current construction activities completed, delayed, and accelerated, unquote. These were related, in part, to further refinements of, quote, big lift procedure, unquote, which were scheduled to complete and actually were completed during the second week in February. Grand Canyon Development Partners reiterated its understanding that the roof system is no longer on the critical path, and therefore challenges with the cable net should not delay the substantial completion date of the project, right? Hold everything, okay? Okay, then it notes that a bunch of different items are currently ahead of schedule, okay? And then it keeps going to state this. Grand Canyon Development Partners continues to note, you know what this is like, folks? This is like twisting yourself into a pretzel to read these double and triple meanings. Listen to this. Grand Canyon Development Partners continues to note the heightened risk of weather-related damage given the delay in closing the stadium. They note, however, that this risk diminishes as the developer mitigates the risk whenever possible with the installation of temporary protection at the contractor's expense. And as Southern Nevada moves into relatively drier months of the year, this concern notwithstanding, Grand Canyon Development Partners concluded the Stadco monthly report continues to identify TCO, in other words, basically substantial completion for July 31st, 2020. We believe this date is still achievable. In other words, we believe it. We kind of don't want to say it. We do believe it, but there's so many problems. This is hilarious. Okay. It gets better. Okay. I mean, you think that's bad? Hold on a second. Because it gets funnier. Hold on a second. All right. I mean, this is like holy chuckle, like ha 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 stuff. I mean, why don't you just come out and say, hey, you know what? This thing, we're going to be late, So, and that was before the pandemic. Now in the March board meeting, 19th, I don't know what to expect. Because you have a whole new world. Bill Hornbuckle is now the president of MGM. He took Jim Murin's place. He was on the stadium, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority board. Good man. And everyone is just, as I am and as you are, in a shock about what's happening around us and just praying for the health and well-being of each other. Doesn't matter whether it's Oakland, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Chicago, New York, Paris, London, Beirut. It doesn't matter. We're all in this together, and we all have to figure out a way out. Stay healthy. Now, what I'm getting to is this. August 16th was always the date of the first event, right? Well, guess what? Not anymore. It's, quote, undefined. That's right. And that answers your undefined. In other words, they don't know when the first event's going to be. And meanwhile, they're selling tickets for Garth Brooks like they're going out of style, which literally they are. So Garth Brooks tickets sold out in 75 minutes after they went on sale last Friday. Dang it. So, it's a big mess. This is a big mess. You can talk about karma, you can talk about all kinds of things, but folks, it's not a it's a sad situation. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. I will say it again that this has to do with my friends at Harrah's in Las Vegas, who I love staying there, and my mom, we go there. Uh, they treat us awesomely, and I have to say, and I love being able to have the money to take my mom there because she's in her later years. She deserves this. She deserves the best she can get, and so at any rate, because I don't know how long I'm gonna have her around for. Okay, so my point is that they're really nice people, and they are the people I think about. I'm talking about the clerks that you meet when you check in your room. When I see those robot kiosks there, and I think, don't replace people with those, because it's the people that understand what you're going through, how to talk with you. They're in the hospitality business. Their job is to make you happy, and they will bend over backward. The good people there in Vegas will bend over backward to make you happy as a guest, and they are gems. And places like Harrah's, Las Vegas is full of people like that, and it really personally hurts my heart to see them go through this, because there's got to be a better way for them, and we have to have a government, and we don't, that better meets their needs, and we should call for it right now, rather than kidding ourselves that this is like the free market and all this jazz. Okay, a lot of damage has been done to a lot of people under this illusion that we're in a capitalist system, when, as Alan Michon rightly pointed out in my interview with him earlier tonight, look, when you get on the highway, that highway is owned by the government, that's socialist. When you go to vote, that's ran by the government, that's socialist. There are a number of examples in this society that we have, this great society of socialism around us, about government owning and providing the means of the service and the service. And we take that for granted. We have to stop taking that for granted and demand a government that runs top notch, not half ass, okay? Top notch. And stop thinking that someone in business, because they ran a business, automatically knows more than someone who has government experience. We have had now about 20 years of that ideology, and frankly, it hasn't done us any good. It's got us into 2 recessions, okay? So we need to wake up, wake the blank up, and stop it, all right? Before it's too late, okay? So anyway, but what I'm getting to is no, I got to that. But the Stadium Authority also is in trouble. The Stadium Authority is going to owe $3.6 million in loss, at least. What I put out, but the Stadium Authority also is in trouble. The Stadium Authority is going to owe $3.6 million in loss, at least. What I put out, if you saw it, was a conservative estimate, because I used a 12% occupancy rate, whereas in a number of hotels, the occupancy rate is even lower than that. Some places it's 6%, some places it's 4%. So right now, they're looking at best, a $600 million revenue take from the stadium tax revenue for March. Normally, it's 4.4 million and up, okay? March was the best year of the stadium tax in 2017, when they gained $5 million. That's the best year they've seen throughout this entire process. And they were getting to a point where it looked like, because March tends to be a great year for Las Vegas, they're going to see that again. Not quite, because of the fact that resort fees and, frankly, Las Vegas sort of nickel and diming people to death got on the nerves of a number of long-distance travelers, primarily those coming from Asia, and they started coming in lesser clip, and they had other places to go. But now, it doesn't matter whether it's Macau or Las Vegas, nobody has any place to go at all. So we've got, and then there's this the question of UNLV. There are people who are pissed off that the Raiders have basically bullied UNLV, okay? Now, the project schedule. If you don't believe what I'm talking about with the project schedule, let me show you right now what this looks like, okay? Right here. All right? Cool. Right here. It says project schedule. And it reads the project stadium project budget remains unchanged at excuse me. Try that again. Make sure that's online there. That's lined here. And let me lower this a bit. Let me lower this a bit to make sure. There it is. Okay. All right. Let's try that again. The stadium project budget. This is on page 1 of 11, excuse me, page 11, remains unchanged at 1.97 billion during the current reporting period. Okay. 23 funding notices have been processed by the Stadium Authority, totaling 1.41 billion, approximately 71% of the aggregated project budget. Okay. Now, project schedule. The project schedule was generally unchanged during the current reporting period. Got that? Got that? Substantial completion is anticipated. Not opening, substantial completion is anticipated on July 31st, 2020, and project closeout is scheduled for October 31st, 2020. Now, project schedule closeout to me means that's when you're really finished. The date of the stadium's opening event had been reported as August 16th, 2020, and now is reported as not yet defined. Okay? Not yet defined. Okay? Not yet defined. Okay? Not yet defined. Okay? This change is intended to reflect flexibility as stadium event programming shifts from theoretical to actual. Yeah! Okay, so look. Basically, what that tells me is this. Theoretically, Garth Brooks is performing at the stadium. Theoretically, Garth Brooks is performing at Allegiant Stadium. Okay? Theoretically. I mean, whew. This is the worst situation they could be in. And someone said to me, oh, you should use this as a moment to talk about things you told them. I'm not going to do that. Because it's cruel. And first of all, folks, I think that we've had quite enough cruelty in this whole deal to begin with. And we don't need any more. We need all hands on deck to pull together to save our lives. Okay? We cannot allow what in the scheme of things are really petty differences to work to end our lives. This is a new day. We have people worried about if they're going to get sick and die. We have a pandemic out there that is guided by a virus that unthinkably we don't have a cure for. On top of all that, we don't know how we got here. You can't tell me really where the virus came from. And when I read one version, it's countered by something else, which is even less certain. And yet we seem comfortable with the idea that we don't know. I personally am not. So let me go and read your comments before I continue on my. But and I will let's see here. Go with the excuse me. I had the yeah, here we go. Okay. Did I just freeze? All right. I had the yeah, here we go. Okay. Did I just freeze? All right. Oh, oh, I missed a lot of. Here. Hey, everybody. Okay, I got Nubu 8, The Reality of Allegiant Stadium opening on time. Juan Ramirez, how you doing? God bless you. Right Abbott says, what's the latest in the NFL draft? Peter O'Reilly last night personally told me that, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but I'll show it to you. He said, I don't want to have you get dizzy and all that, but just if you want to check Oakland News now, you'll see it. Peter O'Reilly is the executive vice president for club business. I call him Mr. Super Bowl because starting with Jim Weiss, then Jim Steig, then Frank Sapovitz, and now we have Peter O'Reilly. These were the four men who in the history of the NFL were the Mr. Super Bowls, the people who put together the event that we recognize as the Super Bowl. But they also put together the NFL draft and the combine, okay? So Peter personally emailed me to say that the news that Hub Arkush put out was completely false. So I made a video of the email he sent to me, and I put it out. It's on Zenny62 on YouTube here. And so do I think it's possible that something could happen to the draft like that? Unfortunately, I think it is because just, we're talking about March, April, and May. And the question is, who's going to be available to help you set up? And are you going to have the money for them? And is this pandemic going to be over with? See, if we have to pay out to people, we should be paying it out now. If we think that a person isn't going to be able to be employed in a standard way, there should be a pool of money that person can go to access. That should be true for every man, woman, family, United States. Period. End of story. That we don't have it is a expression of how little we care about each other. Not putting ourselves in a position where like, oh, well, there but go for the grace of God, go I. Well, no, it's us. But I digress. So I don't know what the NFL is going to do. I do know the future looks bleak. I do hope the league stays the course and tries to figure out a creative solution to keep the draft alive. Okay. But I don't know what the league is going to do. I know that I only trust what Peter told me. And he says that news that was put out there is false. That's it. Right Abbott says, Oracle Arena, are there any bonds left? You mean in terms of payout? Yeah, we're still paying out. The Warriors owe us $40 million that they haven't paid. Okay. And I think we're about a year away from being done with that. I'll double check for you. In UA, it says, you're the only one I think that keeps the can of worms open on this subject. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. I think in fairness, there's not a lot of media out there. All right. And that's the first thing. And second, you're in a society where there are people who don't, for some particular reason, want to question certain things in another generation, and they don't simply put the question forward themselves. I do, but you don't find a cacophony of media doing so. Now, and then the only time that it does happen is when one of their own, quote unquote, reports the news, which is not right. Okay. There's a lot of damage that has been done by journalism to media under that behavioral design. I'm just being blunt. I'm supportive of safe journalism and everything else, but journalism, as it's practiced by media in the United States and the UK, has to really step up and take some responsibility for the problems that it's facing. They weren't all created by outside forces. They weren't all created by Google and Facebook and Craigslist. Journalism created those problems as well. I can go on a long time about that, but that's another story. Jason D says, Juan Ramirez, thank you, and God bless you as well. And Mohammed says, Raiders playing in Oakland in 2020. Well, I think that ship has sailed, mainly because they don't have a lease. They kind of went, hey, sayonara, we're leaving, and didn't even give him a kiss goodbye. Okay. Will Wayne says, ain't gonna know Garth Brooks show. Willie Wayne says, Blue Man Group maybe. Juan Ramirez says, I feel bad for folks that jobs will be cut, the elderly and the homeless. I do too. And I feel bad for those people who will be made homeless unless we have a way for them to maintain their dwellings at this time. If the governments get together and say, hey, look, no evictions, and we will provide you special tenant assistance so you can pay your back rent due, that will make a lot of people whole. Okay, that's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. Because I've never seen a situation where people have just stopped. And I don't know, I know two of my clients say that they're okay, but hey, I'm going to go for a small business loan because there's that uncertain future out there. And I think this is as good a time to do it as any. So Mohammed says, many people blame Reaganomics. Well, Mohammed, I don't think it's so much it's Reaganomics. It's the response to the epidemic. People, all right, it's not Reaganomics. It's our design. It's our consumer-based economy. Our economy still is based on you and I going someplace. It's always the anticipation, particularly in the MICE industries, which are meetings, and I forgot what MICE stands for. MICE is in terms of the industry. I always screw that up, but I need to make sure I remember it. So MICE industry. Industry. Yeah, MICE industry. MICE industry stands for, it's an acronym that stands for meetings, incentives, conferencing, and exhibitions. The reason why I don't remember it all the time was because the I for incentives never really got me to me. It's an incentive. I mean, if you're talking about hotels and whatever. Anyway, all right. Meetings, incentives, conferencing, and exhibitions is a type of tourism in which large groups, usually planned well in advance, are brought together. And so that's it. Okay. So, all right. And so, and Mike Lowry just sent me a message attachment. One of my constant viewers and friends, Mike Lowry. It reads, when it's from a guy who calls himself the Goes. When Encore and MGM properties all closing their doors. Life in Las Vegas is terrifying right now. Tons of people losing their jobs at once is chaos. Please try to stay positive, and when you can, this is hard to read, man. Hard to read. Please try to stay positive, and when you can, try to be there for each other, because now is not the time to go at it alone. If you see someone who needs help and you have the means to do it, don't hesitate. If you see someone elderly trying to load those heavy cases of water, offer your help. Remember, this time in your life, because this is when you will find out who your true friends are. Be there for each other. Much love. So there you go. There you go. And my response back is OMG. So folks, like I was saying, this is not normal times. Okay. It's not Reagan. And Will Wayne says, Caesars is going to furlough employees. Wow. Right, says the bond is 30 years on a stadium for the Raiders. Yeah, it is. But see, here's what happened. And the reason why I suggested a tax increment financing zone around the stadium is because they have a debt service reserve of 56 million. They're already going to start cutting into it. You can't go to the next. That's the first problem. The second problem is that starting next year, the the annual bond debt will increase from 33 million to from 32 million, excuse me, this year to 40 million in 2019 on an annual basis. And that happens as the visitor rates for Vegas are falling. And now, right now, they're near zero. So the question is, as we come out of this economy, absent some massive injection of wealth on a per person basis, the economy is just not going to like snap to like that. Okay. It's going to take time. And over that time, Vegas is going to have more and more months of low vacancy rates, which will translate into more and more months where the reserve is depleted. So that will occur within the next year, which I hope is a recovery year, and I believe it will be. But a tax increment financing zone that can capture tax revenue and use it for the project and get them out of this mess. Because what really bothers me about the whole issue regarding the stadium, the reason why I've analyzed it all the time and looked at it, is because there's this consistent, tiresome desire to say there's nothing wrong. And my point is, you know what? Let's stop saying there's nothing wrong. Let's deal with the problems together, find solutions, implement the solutions, and move forward. But don't say that. This is a project that, if Mark Davis is not so careful, it could wind up in the Raiders being taken away from him one way or the other. Okay, and he's not Stan Kroenke. Now, Stan's got not just one sports organization, he's got 7. Okay, so he can trade, he can get the revenue from one to the other to the other. He's in this shape, Kroenke's in a good position. But the overall problem is that we're a consumer economy, and Las Vegas, more so than pretty much any city in the United States, feeds off the consumer service-based economy for its very health, wealth, and well-being. Okay, all that's threatened in a way that none of us have ever seen before, ever. And so Ryan Abbott says, only independent news that is correct is Oakland News Now. Ryan, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Rob Iman, how you doing? I'm you know what? I'm sad, man, but I'm hanging. Rob says, nice to hear some non-corona news. And he says, hanging in there. How are things going for you, Jason D says. John, maybe video calls. Willie Wayne says, we call it the crown virus. John Akala says, what do you think about maybe the NFL draft goes back to the old ways where picks are called in? That could be. But, I mean, I love going to New York every year. I know the league liked to move the draft around and all of that. And it worked for them. But I love New York. And I'm a big stickler for tradition. And I had habits that I enjoyed when the draft was in New York. I haven't been back to New York in a while as a result, which is a bad thing for me. I need to go back to New York. So I would not have a problem with the draft returning to New York. I know that they had an issue with the Dolans. Everybody has an issue with Dolans, right? Spike Lee's got an issue with the Dolans. The draft, NFL's got an issue with them. Yeah, the Dolans. But hey, I thought that was, and the Dolan issue, I have to explain that. That had to do with Radio City. That had to do with Javits first. And then, no, Madison Square Garden first, which drove them to Javits. And then they were at Radio City. And then they came up with the idea of moving things around. I think the city of New York wanted more money under de Blasio than the NFL was willing to pay. So the NFL just said, the heck with this. So started moving it around. And Ryan Abbott says, I could use $40 million in bonds with Oracle. Rob Iman says, doing things to keep my anxiety down. And then he says, Ryan says, any new naming rights to the Oakland Arena? No. The Oakland Arena is still the Oakland Arena. It's a good question. Right now, this particular group of leaders is not the one that's equipped to find a naming rights deal for them. Also, we happen to be in this climate right now, so it's a little rough. That said, though, never say never. Okay. Ron Ramirez says Mike Lowry sent a great message from Brian Goes Garcia. Yeah, I just read it. I just read it. News says perfect storm in the country for the result of this pandemic. New Year's sorry, but I'm a bit behind. And Rob Iman says Nevada DMV is now appointment only. Wow. And Rob Iman says I've been keeping tabs on my grandmother. Where is she at? And Jason D asks, "Where's this? How's it going?" Yeah, where's your grandmother at? My mom is in Chicago. She's flying back tomorrow. That's why I'm going to boot out of here because I'm going to go to sleep and get ready to go and get her. I've been shopping my butt off, man. I've got all kinds of food stuffs. Take your flu medicine. What take? Sanger. Okay. Say everything to everybody. I know even if you don't have the flu, take flu medicine. You know why? Because there's something in the air here. And I don't know that there's not enough information about what this coronavirus really is. Because if it can only be gotten by touch, why are so many people catching it? And why is it that the rate of infection and the projections are so great? That can only happen if it's gotten through the air. How the hell is it getting through the air? And why? Is it mutating? That's what I want to know, okay? So, hey, look. Take your flu bite shots. If you haven't had a flu shot, get one. Take your vitamins. Vitamin B, C, D. Drink a lot of water. Black tea to lift your immune system. Stay away from alcohol. The one thing that will be of the benefit of not being able to go to a bar, I have to say, unfortunately, because I love hanging out, talking, have my cranberry juice, okay? Because I'm disciplined that way after many years of hanging out in bars and at one point looking for the woman I thought would be my wife, and that didn't turn out. At any rate, and hey, some of you have parents who met in bars, so don't laugh. At any rate, just stay away from it because it will, or in moderation, because it will pull down your immune system. You need to have your immune system up, and you need to get your sleep. Okay? You need to get your sleep. Let me read your comments here. Rob Ivan says she lives in Sanger. He lives in Fresno. Wright Abbott says, how's your exercise going? Fine. William Wayne says, free as. Actually, I haven't been to the gym this week. And Wright Abbott says, I hope you're losing weight and working out. Me personally or everybody? I am. My double chin that was here earlier is going away. It still has about that much to go, but I'm proud to say that I'm under 200 pounds, and I'm going to drive myself further under 200 pounds. But we all we have to collectively believe as a group that we will survive, not just survive, but thrive. Don't give up. We're all in this together. Our heart for each other. What else do we have? Okay. Jason D says, yes, I think when people breathe, it can go into the air for a while and then another person can breathe it in. Right. And Rob Iman says, I think some states are starting special enrollment, get insurance if you don't have any. Interesting. I didn't realize that. All right. So folks, Willie Wayne says, we are immune and powerful. That's right. Keep your immune system up. Look at look at all this water I got over here. So you folks, look at this. Okay. Yeah. Is that enough water? Well, you can't see that there. Okay. Water, cold too. Okay. I'm not kidding you. All right. Got to stay healthy. All right. So folks, I am going to shuffle off the buffalo and Hey, by the way, my email is this. Barry says, can you say something positive about the stadium? I have. Let me ask you, Barry, what have I said? I've told the truth about the stadium. I mean, can I say something about the positive about the stadium? For what reason? And I hate to be that way, but my point is, if you haven't listened to this enough to know what I've said, I've talked about the truth of the stadium. Okay. I've talked about the truth of the stadium. It's not a matter of positive or negative. Okay, it's not a matter of positive or negative. The stadium is not a person that has thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It is a construct. Okay, so what I want to know is, first of all, do you understand the implications of not building the stadium correctly? Do you understand the implications of building something that could possibly fall if it's not done correctly? Do you understand the implications of people being harmed financially? All right. So, I mean, when you say something positive about the stadium, what do you mean? You have not viewed this enough for me to, if you did, as all the other folks here have, they've heard me say good things that happened and report about things that happened that were bad. I simply report on it. Period. I am not here to be a cheerleader for anyone's project. And the reason, very simply, is that on very different occasions, starting way back when I said that the bond debt coverage ratio is 1.5 to 1, and that's not normal, I was told I was wrong. And the people who told me I was wrong found out themselves that I was right. And then when I said the stadium tax at 88 100ths of 1% was too low, and Sisolak, among others, said that I was wrong, and it turned out that I was right, I can go on and on and on. If a person is out there and they have the expertise to analyze problems, take their advice. It's free advice, as I said the other night. It's free. There aren't people who have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. Neither do you. And we have to get over this place in society where we had people who are on high, who thought they knew all the answers and didn't want to hear anyone else. And unfortunately, you have people who are involved in the Stadium Authority project that have acted like that. I called Jeremy Aguero once, who's applied analysis, and I was trying to explain the whole room tax issue. He's laughing at me on the phone. That's the last time I called him. Very unprofessional. And it pains me to say that, but when someone is making fun of you, you have to tell the truth. So it's not a matter of not saying anything positive or negative. I simply have told the truth about something that I understand. I have said more than once, I want to see them get it right. That's a positive. I want to see them get it right. But right now, we're in a situation that's even bigger than that. Let me remind you where we're at, okay? Again, this was sent to me by Mike Lowry, by his friend The Goes. When Encore and MGM properties are all closing their doors, Life in Las Vegas, which I'm guessing you probably don't live in Las Vegas, Barry Chauvin, and I think it's fair to bet you don't. Life in Las Vegas is terrifying right now. Tons of people losing their jobs at once is chaos. Please try to stay positive, and when you can, try to be there for each other, because now is not the time to go at it alone. If you see someone who needs help and you have the means to do it, don't hesitate. If you see someone elderly trying to load these heavy cases, of water, offer your help. Remember this time in your life, because this is when you will find out who your true friends are. Be there for each other. Much love. It's a bigger issue than whether or not I have something nice to say about the stadium or not. Aren't you more concerned about people in Las Vegas having jobs? If they don't build the stadium right, there won't be any jobs. But more important than that, if you don't have a government mechanism to fuel money and to make sure that the stadium is built, to make sure that it doesn't go south, then who loses? The workers lose. So instead of this cheerleading, why don't you focus on answering the question? Because we need all hands on deck to form answers. What can government do to help? And what can I do to help? Okay. So there we go. All right. Moving along. Willie Rain says, many Raider touchdowns. I agree. John Acala says, 2 cases here in El Paso, 1 hospitalized and 1 at home in quarantine. Wright Abbott says he's saying Polo Grounds. Laughing. Sorry. Wright Abbott says, Kroenke has money for his. The Allegiant is on a budget. Exactly. Stan has got a deep well. Willie Rain says, Gruden has to restructure his contract. There you are. Okay. So, yeah, but this one is like, wow. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Boy. That talking about that Vegas news. All right. You want to hear something positive about the stadium? I said it before. I'll say it again. I call it the Black Beauty. There you go. The Black Beauty. All right. Tomorrow we will be back, and with more news. You know what? Speaking of stadium, I forgot the Stadium Authority. It is my duty. Hold on a second. It's my duty to tell you what the Stadium Authority agenda is. Here it is, right here. Okay. Here's the Stadium Authority agenda. It's 1:00 p.m. 500 Grand Central Parkway, Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, right here. Agenda, Stadium Authority budget, Stadium Authority board meeting agenda. Then there's the meeting minutes. Let me just, that's the background materials. Let me get the agenda for you. Here's the agenda. Call to order, roll call on established quorum, public comment, and I'll show you, there was one that came in. Approval of agenda with the inclusion of any emergency items and deletion of any items for possible action. Chairman and board member comments. Review and potentially approve the minutes of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority board meeting from January 16th. Receive a status update on staff on administrative items relating to the operation of the Stadium Authority, including a review of the monthly project status report. Receive a status report from staff on the activities of the community benefits plan. Receive a status update from the Stadium Events Company on the progress of the NFL Stadium project. Review and discuss the suite access policy for Clark County Stadium Authority. Review and potentially approve, adopt, and authorize the chairman to sign a resolution establishing the Stadium Authority UNLV contributions fund for possible actions. Public comment. And that contributions fund also needs to be reviewed, because that contributions fund was supposed to come out of what was thought to be an overflow of activity, a good waterfall of activity, of money from the stadium tax. That's not coming. So that's another reason why I'm calling for a tax increment financing zone, because without that tax increment financing zone, that UNLV fund is going to find itself dried up real fast. Okay, and I mean real fast. So Barry says not. Oh, you're not in favor of UNLV? Oh well. Anyway, Jakala, good night, man. Good night to everybody. And Jason D, take us out with a positive thought. I got a positive thought for everybody. Love the one you're with. Love your family. Love your friends. Make calls. Let them know how you feel. Let them know that you're out there. And by all means, keep positive thoughts about each other. And as Jason D just wrote, we can do more together. That's right. We can do more together than apart. And always, in seeking the solution to a problem, I've got a hint for you. Listen to the people you don't want to listen to. Because very often they're going to say the very words that lead you to the answers you seek. All right. So, let's see here. Here we go. All right. Thanks, everybody. And I've explained that I took the action of hiding Barry from this channel because he's seeking confrontation. Anyone that comes to my channel, even if it's on any kind of way who seeks confrontation, will get blocked or banned. There you go. This is not a good time for that kind of behavior. I mean, that's quite different than having a difference of opinion, right? You can prefer Biden and I prefer Bernie, or you can prefer Bernie and I prefer Biden, or you can prefer Trump and I prefer Biden, or you can prefer Trump and I prefer Bernie, or, fine. We can debate. But when you come with absolutes like do this or else, no, not on my channel, man. You got to chill out with that. That's not a good way to treat people. That is way not a good. That's like stuff up here. You're like, ooh, okay, no, don't bring it here. Jason D, good to see you. All right, Duan Ramirez. All right, everybody. As Jason D wrote, we can do more together. See you tomorrow night. See you. And thanks. Oh, by the way, I was going to say, if you have any ideas for show coverage or topics that you specifically want me to focus on, even, within the stadium issue or whatever, there's my email if you don't have it already. It's zinni@zinni62.com. And by the way, check out my new corporate site, zinni62media.com. And I have a new service coming up where if you need mobile press conference, Zinni62 Media has the platform for you. All you need is a smartphone. And I think everybody has one of those. All right. Well, I forgot. HTTPS. Let me try that again. HTTPS. Zinni62media.com. Yeah, that's a live link. A live link that takes everybody to my beautiful website. This one. Ta-da. Incorporated. Zinni62 Media is the CNN of the 21st century. Check it out, folks. Yes, an official company. It's a .com. And now the hard work starts. Started. All right. Started. Yeah. All right. And in closing, again, let's take care of each other. All right. God bless you. See ya.